Content warning: this video contains discussions of child abuse, alleged murder, and testimony from a minor. Viewer discretion is strongly advised. Imagine you're sitting in a courtroom. The defendant is your mother, the victim is your sister, and you, just 6 years old, are the key witness who will decide whether your mother walks free or spends the rest of her life in prison. Can a 6-year-old even understand what truth means? Can they distinguish memory from imagination? Can their words, confused, contradictory, traumatized, be trusted to deliver justice? This is the impossible question at the heart of one of the most controversial murder cases in Florida history. August 8, 2007, a 7-year-old girl named Adriana drowns in a backyard pool in a tiny town called Esto, Florida, population less than 400 people. At first, authorities call it a tragic accident, another child drowning in Florida, a state that leads the nation in such deaths. The mother, Amanda Lewis, is devastated. She tried to save her daughter, performed CPR, called 911 in hysterics. But within hours, everything changed. Because Adriana's 6-year-old brother, AJ, told his grandparents something that would transform this case from accident to murder. "Mama killed my sister, I saw her do it." The child drew pictures of his mother holding his sister's face underwater, pictures with the word die written in crayon. And when prosecutors put that little boy on the witness stand, when he pointed at his mother and said through tears, "That's her. She killed Adriana," the jury believed him. Amanda Lewis was convicted of first-degree murder based almost entirely on the testimony of her traumatized 6-year-old son. She was sentenced to life in prison without parole. But here's where this case gets complicated, and why we're still talking about it nearly 18 years later. The medical examiner who performed the autopsy, his license was later revoked for hundreds of flawed autopsies. He left Florida in disgrace and now performs as a clown at children's birthday parties. The crime scene contaminated. Family members moved evidence before police could properly collect it. And AJ's testimony, it changed 14 times, 14 different versions of what happened that day. So was Amanda Lewis a cold-blooded killer who murdered her daughter in a fit of rage? Or was she a single mother who lost her child in a tragic accident and then became the victim of a rushed investigation, a discredited medical examiner, and the unreliable testimony of a traumatized child? Over the next 40 minutes, we're going to examine every piece of evidence in this case. We'll hear the 911 call, we'll see AJ's testimony, we'll look at the autopsy report and the defense's challenges to it, and we'll discuss the bigger question this case raises. Should we ever convict someone of murder based primarily on the testimony of a 6-year-old child? Because right now, as you're watching this, Amanda Lewis is still in prison. Inmate Q21185 at Homestead Correctional Institution for Women. She served 17 years, and a growing movement believes she should be freed. But her son, AJ, now 24 and working as a firefighter, stands by every word he said. He refuses to see his mother, and he believes justice was served. Who's right? Let's examine the evidence and let you decide. But first, if you believe in justice, whether that means holding the guilty accountable or freeing the wrongly convicted, hit that like button. Subscribe if you want more deep dives into controversial cases, and stick around till the end because we'll tell you about the recent legal motion that could change everything. Now let's go back to August 8, 2007, and the 911 call that started it all. Esto, Florida, population 389. The kind of small town where everyone knows everyone, where nothing much happens, where a child's death would shake the entire community. Amanda Lewis, age 27, had just finished her graveyard shift at Bonifay Nursing Home. She was exhausted. She'd been working all night and all she wanted was sleep. Her 2 children were already awake when she got home around 8 a.m. 7-year-old Adriana and 6-year-old AJ were watching cartoons. Amanda had plans. Later that afternoon, she'd promised to take them shopping for school supplies, but first she needed rest. She told the kids to play outside while she did laundry. It was early August. Temperatures had already exceeded 100 degrees, the kind of oppressive Florida heat that makes you want to jump in a pool. And there was a pool in the backyard, a 4-foot-deep above-ground pool that Amanda had set rules about: never swim without supervision, never go near the water without mom watching. To enforce this, Amanda had locked the pool ladder in the shed. Without the ladder, the kids couldn't climb in. Or so she thought. Around 2:30 p.m., Amanda was inside switching laundry. Suddenly, AJ burst through the door yelling that Adriana was in the pool. Amanda's first thought was that Adriana was playing near the water, not in it. She yelled for AJ to tell his sister to get out. But then Amanda looked through the back door and saw something that stopped her heart. AJ was crouched beside the pool, reaching into the water with his hands, trying to grab something. Amanda ran outside. Adriana was face down in the water, unconscious. Amanda pulled her daughter from the pool and immediately started CPR. When that didn't work, she made the call that would change everything. Play 911 call audio transcript. Listen to Amanda's voice on that call. Does that sound like a mother who just murdered her daughter, or does that sound like genuine panic? Her lips are purple. What do I do? Water's just coming out of her nose. Emergency personnel arrived within minutes. Adriana was airlifted to Bay Medical Hospital. For over an hour, doctors fought to save the 7-year-old girl. They succeeded briefly. They got a pulse, but her lungs were too waterlogged. At 5:05 p.m., Adriana Elaine Hutto was pronounced dead. Holmes County Fire Chief Charles Corcoran called it another tragic drowning accident. Not uncommon for Florida, where 95 children under 14 had drowned that year alone. Sheriff's Lieutenant Michael Boyd said there were no indicators of foul play, just a child who drowned in a pool while her exhausted mother was inside doing laundry. Authorities sympathized with Amanda, a single mother who just lost her daughter in the most traumatic way possible. But that sympathy was about to evaporate. Because by the time police arrived at the scene, Amanda's mother and stepfather, Brenda and Chuck Burns, were already there. They'd come immediately when they heard about Adriana. Officers allowed AJ to leave with his grandparents. He was traumatized, in shock, and needed to be away from the scene. And that's when everything changed. Within hours of Adriana's death, AJ told his grandparents something that would transform this case from accident to murder. Brenda and Chuck Burns were devastated by their granddaughter's death. But as they tried to comfort 6-year-old AJ, he said something that made them freeze. "Mama killed Adriana. I saw her do it." At first, they didn't believe him. Children say strange things when they're traumatized. Maybe he was confused. Maybe he didn't understand what he'd seen. But AJ insisted. He said his mother had gotten angry at Adriana for spraying something that made the house smell bad. He said she'd thrown Adriana in the pool as punishment. He said Adriana tried to get out, but his mother pushed her back in and held her under the water. Shocked and uncertain, Brenda and Chuck rushed AJ to the police station so he could make a formal statement. What AJ told investigators that day would become the foundation of the prosecution's entire case. Play or describe AJ's initial police interview. "My sister, she sprayed something that make everything smell good, and she done the stuff that she wasn't supposed to. So my mom got mad at her. So she threw her in the pool, and then Adriana was trying to escape from Mama, and then Mama pulled her back in the car. And then once they got back home, Mama threw her back in the pool, and then she started drowning again." Listen to that carefully, because already there are problems with this statement. AJ says his mother threw Adriana in the pool, then took her somewhere in the car, then brought her back and threw her in the pool again. That doesn't match the timeline. Amanda called 911 at 2:39 p.m. She'd been home all day. There was no trip in the car, no second drowning. But investigators hearing a child describe his mother murdering his sister didn't focus on those inconsistencies. They focused on the core accusation: Mama killed Adriana. The next day, police brought Amanda in for questioning. "I told you briefly what AJ said," the detective began. "I don't know how to put this, but he seems to believe that you drowned her." Amanda's response was immediate. "I don't know why he would think that. I wasn't even out there. I was in the house." "Why would he accuse you of drowning your daughter?" "He likes to tell stories," Amanda said. "He has a very big imagination." "But the damage was done. What had been treated as a tragic accident was now a murder investigation. And when police executed a search warrant on Amanda's home, what they found made them even more suspicious. When investigators searched Amanda Lewis's home, they found conditions that deeply troubled them. The children's bedroom reeked of urine. The smell hit officers immediately. This was a dead child's living environment, and it was disturbing. The room was nearly empty, 2 beds, a little red wagon, 2 inflatable pool toys in the yard, but that was it. 2 children, neither yet 8 years old, shared this room, and there wasn't a single toy inside. When questioned, Amanda had an explanation. She'd taken away the children's toys as punishment. She'd locked them in the shed for a week, the same shed where she kept the pool ladder. But when officers searched the shed, there were no toys, none. If Amanda had lied about that simple detail, what else was she lying about? Then came the autopsy report, and this is where the prosecution's case seemed to solidify, but also where major problems would later emerge. Dr. Charles Siebert performed the autopsy on Adriana. His findings: multiple bruises on Adriana's forehead, marks consistent with fingerprints on her cheeks and chin, bruising that suggested a hand had been placed over her face, injuries consistent with being held underwater during a struggle. The pool was 4 feet deep. Adriana was 47 inches tall, just under 4 feet. If she'd simply fallen in and hadn't hit her head, she could have easily stood up. Her head would have been above water. So how did she drown? The medical examiner's conclusion: she was held under the water. This was not an accidental drowning. This was homicide. Combined with AJ's statement, investigators now had what they believed was a clear picture. Amanda Lewis, frustrated by her hyperactive daughter's misbehavior, had drowned her in a fit of rage. Amanda was offered a plea deal: plead guilty to manslaughter, serve 10 years, and eventually walk free. According to her attorney, Walter Smith, Amanda looked him directly in the eyes and said, "I did not kill my child, and I will not admit to doing something I did not do." Amanda was going to trial, and the prosecution was about to reveal their most devastating piece of evidence. February 2008, Amanda Lewis sits at the defense table, her face drained of color, dark circles under her eyes. She'd convinced herself the jury would see the truth. Her lawyers had painted her as a devastated single mother who'd lost her daughter in a tragic accident, a drowning that happened in seconds. But then the prosecution called their key witness, her son, 6-year-old AJ. And everything changed. Before AJ testified, there was a legal question the court had to address: is a 6-year-old competent to testify? The defense argued no. Children that young don't understand the difference between truth and lies. They have vivid imaginations. They're easily influenced. But the prosecution showed that AJ understood the concept of truth. He could distinguish reality from fantasy. He knew what a lie was. The judge ruled he could testify. What happened next is one of the most emotionally devastating moments in courtroom history. AJ was led into the courtroom. He didn't realize his mother was there. He thought she was in jail, which technically she was, but she was also here at the defense table watching him. When the prosecutor asked AJ to identify if his mother was in the room, he said no, she couldn't be, she was in jail. Then the prosecutor pointed, "That woman sitting right there between those 2 people, have you ever seen her before?" AJ looked, and for the first time since his sister died, he saw his mother. He burst into tears. Describe the emotional moment. But he still testified. Through tears, through obvious trauma, AJ told the jury what he remembered. He'd drawn pictures of the pool, pictures of himself playing, pictures of his mother, and pictures of his mother's hand over his sister's face. "What is your mama doing?" the prosecutor asked. "Killing my sister," AJ said. "How is she doing that?" "Putting her hand over her face." The prosecutor asked AJ to demonstrate. He refused, too traumatic. Then came the most damning evidence. Dr. Emily Fox, testifying about the autopsy, placed her hand on her own face in the same motion AJ had initially demonstrated to police. The bruises matched exactly, finger-shaped marks, right where a hand would be if someone covered a child's nose and mouth. The jury sat in stunned silence. But the defense wasn't done. They were about to raise questions that would haunt this case for years. Amanda's defense team had an uphill battle. The jury had just watched a traumatized child testify against his own mother. They'd seen the autopsy photos, they'd heard about the urine-soaked bedroom and the missing toys. But the defense raised points that couldn't be ignored. Point 1. AJ's testimony changed 14 times. From his first statement to his courtroom testimony, AJ's story shifted constantly. Sometimes Adriana drowned once, sometimes twice, sometimes there was a car trip, sometimes there wasn't. Children under 10 are rarely considered competent witnesses precisely because their memories are unreliable. They confuse imagination with reality. They're easily influenced by leading questions. Was this testimony reliable enough to convict someone of murder? Point 2. Florida drowning statistics. In 2007, 95 children under 14 drowned in Florida. The state leads the nation in accidental child drownings. It happens constantly. The pool was unsupervised for maybe 10 minutes. Adriana was a hyperactive child. Could she have climbed in herself, maybe standing on something, maybe using the wagon AJ had been playing with and then panicked and drowned? Point 3. The medical examiner. This is where the defense landed their biggest blow. Dr. Charles Siebert, the medical examiner who performed Adriana's autopsy, never testified in court. Why? Because by the time of the trial, Dr. Siebert had been suspended and his license was under review. Investigations revealed that Dr. Siebert had engaged in problematic practices that led to hundreds, potentially thousands, of flawed autopsies. His license was eventually revoked. He fled Florida, and in a bizarre twist, he now performs as a clown and magician at children's birthday parties in New Jersey. In his absence, an administrative assistant with zero medical training read his notes to the jury. That assistant had prior perjury convictions. How reliable was this autopsy? Point 4. Contaminated crime scene. Because Adriana's death was initially ruled an accident, detectives didn't secure the scene for days. Family members removed picture frames, moved toys, deflated the pool. When police finally documented the scene, they reinflated the pool for photos, but never properly collected it as evidence. Could crucial evidence have been lost or altered? Point 5. Family dynamics. The defense pointed to Amanda's stepfather, Chuck Burns. Amanda had accused Chuck of making unwanted sexual advances. Their relationship was tense. Was this his revenge? Had he influenced AJ's testimony? The defense also noted that Amanda had passed a polygraph test. While not admissible in court, it suggested she genuinely believed she was telling the truth. But none of it mattered, because the prosecution had one more witness who would seal Amanda's fate. The prosecution called Kimberly Yates, Amanda's co-worker at the nursing home. Yates testified that 4 months before Adriana's death, Amanda had come to work visibly frustrated. Adriana had been acting out again, and Amanda threw her hands up and said, "I'm going to kill her, I can't take it anymore." Yates said she pulled Amanda aside to calm her down, that Adriana was crying, that Amanda seemed at the end of her rope. Amanda might have said it in frustration, in the heat of the moment, the way parents sometimes do. But now that same child was dead. The jury remembered what they'd seen in the autopsy report. They remembered AJ's tearful testimony. They remembered the drawing of his mother's hand over his sister's face. After 3 days of trial, the jury deliberated for 1 hour. 1 hour. We, the jury, find the defendant, Amanda Elaine Lewis, guilty as charged of first-degree felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Amanda Elaine Lewis, guilty as charged of aggravated child abuse. Amanda showed no visible reaction. She just stared straight ahead as if she couldn't process what was happening. In March 2008, Amanda Lewis was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. She was 28 years old. Amanda Lewis is now 45 years old. She's been in prison for 17 years. Inmate Q21185 at Homestead Correctional Institution for Women. She filed an appeal in 2010. It was denied. But on November 7, 2025, a new motion for post-conviction relief was filed. The motion alleges 4 constitutional violations. A juror was dismissed without Amanda's presence or approval. Another juror, only 17 years old, failed to disclose that she'd overheard the lead police officer falsely claiming Amanda was a drug addict. Improper jury instructions. Ineffective assistance of counsel. There's now an entire website dedicated to freeing Amanda Lewis. Advocates argue that the interview tactics used would be prohibited under current Florida protocol. A 6-year-old's testimony should never be the primary evidence in a murder conviction. The discredited medical examiner's findings are unreliable. The contaminated crime scene makes the physical evidence questionable. But her son, AJ, now 24 and working as a firefighter, stands by every word he said. He says a Christian family adopted him. He calls it a complete turnaround. He's found a new life outside the trauma. But he refuses to see his mother, and he believes justice was served. So who's right? Is Amanda Lewis a murderer who killed her daughter in a fit of rage, or is she a wrongly convicted mother who lost her child in a tragic accident and then became the victim of a flawed investigation? The case file remains open, the appeals continue, and the question of what really happened in that backyard pool on August 8, 2007 still divides everyone who examines the evidence. What do you think? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if this case made you think about the reliability of child witnesses, the problems with discredited medical examiners, or the way our justice system handles complex cases, hit that like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next investigation.